This is a production of PBS Charlotte.
PBS Charlotte's 4th annual Carolina Collectibles is about to get underway, and we have so many great things in store for you this year. Hi, I'm Amy Burkett. Welcome to PBS Charlotte's 4th annual Carolina Collectibles. We're hanging out outside because of COVID. Things look a little different this year. We kept everybody safe and socially distanced by waiting in their cars, and we texted them just a couple at a time when it was their turn to come inside and find out what their treasures were really worth. So you're gonna see a lot of masks this year, but again, it was just so darn good to see our wonderful viewers, and I hope you'll enjoy this year's edition as well.
Hi, welcome in.
Thank you.
We have a beautiful gold bracelet. So can you tell me a little bit about it?
This bracelet belonged to my paternal grandmother, and I've worn it for years, and I'm fortunate enough to have my daughter, and on a special birthday I decided to give it to her.
So a little bit about the piece. It is 18 karat gold, and it has what looks like 2 link bracelets that are connected together with the beads on the outside as well as the leaf motif on either side, about 1.5 to 2 inches wide. I would date the piece early 1900s, late 1800s, also just with how it is made. I also believe it to be of European make, most likely either Austrian or Italian. At auction, this would bring between $4,000 to $5,000.
Well, that's a nice surprise.
Good.
I had no idea.
Good. I mean, it's a beautiful piece you have here.
We
Thank
cherish
you.
it, don't we?
We do.
Good. Good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is a doll that belonged to my great aunt, who was born in 1910. So we knew the doll was at least over 100 years old, and we just weren't sure what information there was about it. It had been passed down from her to my daughter. We found out that she's a German-made doll with a bisque head, and her body is made out of layers and layers of paper mache, and she has survived this long. They said they thought she was about $400.
We brought in George, a pretty girl, and a babbling brook. It turns out the babbling brook was the cheapest one of all. $300 for him, and he looks good. George, I paid $34. He's $400. She's turned out to be $800 to $1,200, and I only paid $200 for her. So not so bad.
Today you brought this table, which we're going to talk about a little bit. In the general sense, we call this a card table or a game table. Mm-hmm. Stylistically, when we begin to look at a piece of antique furniture, we want to try to discern whether something is English, whether something might be continental, European made, whether something might be American made. What is interesting and different and exciting about this table is that this is an American table. This falls into a broad term of what's called American Federal furniture, and a more of a narrow term of Hepawite furniture, right? Which it just kind of signifies more of the square forms, the square tapered legs. What I and many people in America love about a federal furniture is it kind of represents the period of the new country. Right, so we're thinking of George Washington, we're thinking of the late 18th century into the early 19th century, and a lot of the furniture represented kind of the pride of America at that time using inlays. And as you can see on this card table right here, some of the primary characteristics of it are the lightwood inlays on that front medallion, on the legs, and it's just kind of signifying as a country, hey, we're proud to be independent. The second part, when we start looking at something that might be American, is how do we know that? The primary wood here that we're looking at is mahogany, and on the top here, and the mahogany veneers on the front of it. The secondary wood, when I looked under it a little bit earlier, is white pine. White pine's an indigenous wood that's typically used up and down the East Coast. I would say that this table is a New England card table. So when we say New England, we're thinking above New York, we're thinking Connecticut, Massachusetts. Time-wise, we see these tables in New England being made in the late 18th century, as we talked about, so 1790 to 1800 to as late as 1810. When we talk about game tables or card tables, these were made to be put against the wall. We can see it has a flat surface to the rear, but then they were made to be brought into a center of a room, in which case, and I'm just going to step towards you a little bit, it has what's called a gate leg or a swing leg that supports the opening card table so that people can play cards or play games. When we look at the condition and construction, one of the things that I've always admired about antique American furniture or antique furniture in general, we look for are the hand tool marks, right? In this particular table, although we see some veneer chippings and some other losses, those things can be tuned up by an expert today. But overall, the structure of this table is in good shape, meaning that the inside fly rails, the legs have not been broken, right? The top is original, right? The inlay is original. Many of these things are what collectors are looking for when they want to buy and collect a piece of early American furniture. I would say, Valerie, it is a lovely table, and I'm just delighted to see. I love early American furniture. It's one of my passions. Today's market might bear $1,000 to $1,500 for an example like this in this condition. We're proud to have it here today.
I have an Edward Curtis Photographier print. Edward Curtis was a famous photographer who relied in his profession on filming the North American Indian. I paid $100 and they say it's worth $2,000, so not a bad return.
We put in a couple paintings and a lamp. Altogether, it was less than $1,000 for everything. The painting and the lamp have been in my family house for over 60, almost 70 years. And my parents passed, so when we were cleaning out, they were two items that I held on to.
This is a bronze, about 12 and a half inches, we learned, and from a fellow that created art back in the late 19th century.
In Paris.
Is that right?
In Paris.
Yes.
It's Henry Arnold.
And learned that it had quite a bit of value to it. We're thrilled.
$1,000 to $3,000.
This is my grandmother's cocktail purse. It was given to her by her new husband in 1912. And it's 18 karat and 14 karat with 2 small sapphires. And Abby appraised it at $8,000 to $10,000.
I brought an 1870-ish Satsuma vase and a picture from post-World War II Germany that my mother picked up. She picked up 2 of them, and they were painted around the 1948 time frame. The little picture, if it had been in better shape, would have been a lot more, but it was between $100 and $300, and the vase between $300 and $600.
You brought us an early baseball here, and so tell me a little bit about kind of when it came to you, what you heard about the ball, what you knew, and kind of what you believe it to be.
Well, my husband is from England, and he first came here. He ended up working on the space program, but he worked for a company called Talon, and which made the zippers for the space program. Later on, back when they sat down. But when he first came, he roomed with a woman that the company got him a room with her. He wasn't married, he later married me. But she gave him this baseball, and she wrote here, "This ball is worth a lot of money." But we didn't really believe that because she was always saying, "I'm giving you this, it's worth a lot of money." But New York Yankees team, she thought it was 33, 34, 35, or 36. Babe Ruth's team, and it was a present from the catcher. She used to go to Florida in the winter, and she would be there when they were doing their spring training. And that was how she ended up getting it.
Okay. So the first thing we look for anytime we get a baseball is, again, we love to hear the story, and then what we're trying to do is we're trying to kind of look through to figure out, does that story add up? Does it kind of match what we have in our hands? And so a lot of times the first thing I'm looking to do is, I see it, there was a baseball box. Sometimes during spring training, they would have signers just kind of on a normal ball, versus an official league ball. This actually is marked an official league ball. It does have William Heritage, who was the president at the time. And so, but Heritage was actually president of the association for a pretty long period of time. He had a long tenure. And so there were many versions of balls that actually came out. So what we're trying to do is then track down, based on this ball, what was the period of time that this one came from. So that is in the stitching, that is in the stamp, and that's where we start to determine. Now, looking at the stitching and the stamp on this ball, we've actually figured out that this ball dates between 1934 and 1939. So then the next thing we do is we actually start looking to see who signed it. And the best way to track down to see if we can get to a particular year is you look up the roster from that year and you're trying to see, is there someone here that was only on the roster for a short period of time? Or is there a couple of people on the roster that were only on the team together a certain year? So the one that kind of stood out to me was, we have on here a gentleman by the name of Lee Stein. And Lee Stein signed right there. Lee Stein was only on the team in 1938. He was on the roster. So that gets us close to where we believe this is a 38 ball. And so we start looking at the other signatures and kind of matching that up. So what we have here is an American League ball signed by members of the team from 1938. Then what you're looking for is, who are the exciting people on the ball. You also told us that it was signed by Joe DiMaggio. And so we do have Joe DiMaggio's signature right there. And what's unique about this is it's not signed in an area where you'd expect it to be for somebody that's as well known as Joe DiMaggio. And why it's signed here was, this is actually Joe DiMaggio's rookie year, was 1938 on the New York Yankees. So at the time, he didn't get center stage because he was still kind of building that career. What we do look at when we see the sweet spot is the signature that is there, which would have been kind of the headliner at the time, and we actually have Lou Gehrig's signature. So what we have is basically a 1938 team signed ball with Joe DiMaggio, with Lou Gehrig. What are the great things about this? It is in absolutely wonderful condition. The signatures are clear, they're period signatures. With a ball like this, the biggest thing that we have to do is we certainly want to send it in for an official authentication. That just makes everybody very confident in what they're collecting. So a lot of times you'll see balls of this era, 1938 balls, sometimes other ones in not that great a condition or not as strong as signatures. They might be in the range of $1,000, $1,500, maybe $2,000 to $3,000. Honestly, this ball is a great example, and I think authenticated, you could be looking at a ball that's in the $8,000 to $12,000 range and potentially significantly more, maybe even getting in the $15,000 to $20,000 range at auction.
My son will be very pleased.
Wow, I don't have any baseballs worth that much in my garage. How about you? Welcome to PBS Charlotte's annual Carolina Collectibles, and this is your opportunity to invest in your local public television station and secure your spot for the 5th annual Carolina Collectibles. Coming up on October 2nd, we've got 2 different opportunities for you. Give us a call at 888-371-9884. $125 donation will allow you to bring 2 items to receive verbal valuations from our friends at Leland Little Auctions. Now, you have an opportunity to bring 3 items at a $150 donation. So you see on your screen, 3 items, $150 donation, 2 items, a $125 donation. Now, I'm excited to bring in my good friend and our programming buddy, Babette Davidson, joining us now. She's also a supporter of PBS Charlotte. Tell us a little bit, Babette, I know you're a huge fan of Antiques Roadshow. What makes a program like this so special?
Oh my goodness, Amy. I love Antiques Roadshow. I can't believe that it premiered back in 1997. It's been so many years. And when we started Antiques Roadshow, people said, that doesn't seem much like PBS. And now we can't imagine PBS Charlotte without it. I think it's that combination of the history and the excitement of guessing. And I've been doing that with the baseball and the jewelry and the paintings, trying to figure out what will it be worth. We all want to know. And this is your opportunity to really let us know what you think PBS Charlotte is worth. It's your opportunity to call the number or go online and become a part of this excitement with Carolina Collectibles coming in October, so that you can have your own items valued And most importantly, that you can make sure that we know that you love Antiques Roadshow, you love PBS Charlotte, and it's your time to shine and make that call.
Thanks so much, Babette. You know, it is a time to shine, and that's what we love to do. PBS Charlotte is all about shining the spotlight on our community. And you are that wonderful viewer sitting at home, and I know you have some amazing treasures. I know you've always been curious when you've watched Antiques Roadshow or caught one of our other years of Carolina Collectibles, how much this hand-me-down is worth, or how much that antique sitting in your garage collecting dust is worth. We get to work with the amazing, talented team of Leland Little Auctions, based right outside of Raleigh here in North Carolina. And you know what? I want to hear from our good friend Leland right now.
Hello, my name is Leland with Leland Little Auctions out of Hillsborough, North Carolina. We are delighted to join you now, our second year in a row, this coming October for the Carolina Collectibles Series. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a great opportunity for two purposes. One, of course, to support our local station here in Charlotte, but also for you to find out what kind of treasures you might have in your home and your family collection. A couple things that we find in the marketplace right now that are very exciting to talk about, and you might look through your collection. Jewelry. Not just antique jewelry, but also contemporary jewelry. Artist-made jewelry is very exciting, very collectible in the market. You might also look through your sterling silver. These particular things, not just flatware, but also hollowware, right? Sterling pitchers, water pitchers, and trays. Let's take a look and see what we find.
So many exciting things that we will find. Thank you so much, Leland. You know, the number on your screen is 888-371-9884, or you can text GIVE to that number as well, and we are trendy and cool, and you can do a text donation as well. Babette, I don't know, there's so many good things, and in that first segment, that first wonderful table that we saw, they actually went to our friends at Leland Little and auctioned it off, and they shared with us that they had an amazing experience. Valerie Rooks called to just let us know how much fun she had and what an amazing job she had when she worked with Leland Little Auctions.
Oh my goodness. Well, how amazing to hear that someone actually took something to auction. And I love that people are finding out. I love what you said, Amy. These are treasures that people have handed down from family members or purchased on special trips. They all have a story to tell. And that is one of the things about Antiques Roadshow that I love. It's the storytelling, finding out a little bit of history. And you were talking about that table. Finding out, you know, how it was made and what it was used for. It really is so evocative of the past, and you are creating with your call of support right now, not only getting the opportunity to have 2 or 3 of your valuables actually valuated, but you're also being able to support PBS Charlotte and Antiques Roadshow, and just the whole feeling of history and storytelling. Things of value. If PBS Charlotte is of value to you, this is the perfect time to make that call.
Thank you so much, Babette. Again, that number is 888-371-9884, or you can text GIVE to that number as well and make a text donation. We're talking about 2 special ways that we will say thank you when you make that donation today. Again, the event takes place this year, October 2nd. It is a Saturday. Once we have everyone booked, and we can only take a certain number of people, we'll call you with the exact hour in which you should arrive. It's going to be somewhere between 9 and 5 that day, depending upon how many people call. But again, we only have a limited number, and we don't want to turn you away. So please don't sit back and wait and think about this a week from now. Again, give us a call right now. We're going to head back to our next segment in Carolina Collectibles, because we have so many more treasures that you are going to love, and it's probably going to inspire you on what you should bring.
Today I brought in an 1899 print that turns out not to be watercolor and ink, but to be a monochrome. And the story behind the painting is that my grandfather told my grandmother to go to New York and have fun spending for their brand new house back in 1950. Modestly appraised, about $300.
I brought in Shakespeare's second editions. They're from the 1870s, and I got them from my grandparents. Right around $350.
We brought a chess set from my father-in-law. He's passed away now, but my husband inherited it, And we just found out today that it's real ivory. He believes his father has had it since the 60s, but we have to get a documentation to prove that the ivory was that old. So it was very interesting.
All right, hey Jerry. Hi. Thank you for bringing these things in today. Based on the photos that we've sent here, we've got the Mahakali, which is closest to me here. It's 19th century. It could be earlier, back to the 18th century. And the value on that in today's market would be around 1 to 2,000. The Buddha in the center here has got the nice blue painted hair, which you pointed out. It's got some of the original gilt detailing, which we can see, especially across that band. Coming there, you can see some of the bronze exposed underneath. It's in the 2,000 to 3,000 range. And that's at auction. The last piece there, the seated Tara, is very fine quality. The casting is very nice, and that's in the 18th to 19th century time period, and also falling in that 2,000 to 3,000 range for that piece. So collectively, you've got $5,000 to $8,000 for the three objects, which we really appreciate you bringing in today.
Hi, Douglas. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
We have a couple of pairs of cufflinks. Can you tell us a little bit about how you acquired them?
My great uncle was a sports writer for the Chicago Tribune. He loved to write about all types of sports, but initially he was especially interested in horse racing, and he was very concerned about corruption. He didn't think he was getting enough time in the newspaper to tell all his stories, so he developed and created his own magazine called Collier's Eye. It was called Collier's Eye because he had the eye on sports. He wanted to know what was going on, and he wanted to tell the public about corruption. So as I said, he initially started with horse racing, but then he got involved with baseball. And he got involved with baseball because of the rumors that the 1919 World Series had been fixed. And in fact, it had been. Initially, it was played down, but Uncle Bert said, no, we can't have this. So he began writing stories in Collier's Eye, revealing the amount of corruption that occurred during that World Series.
Oh, wow.
With what was called the White Sox, but it's now called the Black Sox. But it really didn't receive a lot of publicity at the time. The public didn't want to believe it. And for years and years, all of his documents, Collier's Eye, other documents about this were lost. Completely lost. Nobody knew anything about it. Well, it turned out that there was a librarian who was interested in Man of War, the great horse who is so famous. Man of War was in 10 races and won 9 of them. He lost 1.
Wow.
So he was interested in researching what Uncle Bert thought happened during the 10th race. Sure enough, Uncle Bert said it was fixed, and he was later proved right. However, in that article was the article about the Black Sox. So all of a sudden he began reading all the expose by Uncle Bert about the Black Sox. So people all over the country began wanting more information about this, which was in a library at the University of Illinois in Urbana. Mysteriously, all the volumes on the Black Sox disappeared suddenly. And for 2 years, they were gone. Then all of a sudden, they reappeared in the library.
Wow. Wow.
And of course, then the story was retold.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
So what you see here are the cufflinks and studs that Uncle Bert loved to wear at fashionable affairs in Chicago.
Right.
He was well known in Chicago. In fact, he was well known throughout the world. In fact, every year, he would give $1,000 to the best jockey in the United States. So this was a widely sought competition by jockeys, not only in the United States, but it was well known throughout the world.
Right.
That's the story.
Wow. He's definitely a well-to-do man based on these cufflinks and the stories you've told us. But just a couple of little tidbits. This pair of cufflinks and stud set, they are platinum with approximately 2 carats of diamonds, very high quality diamonds. They are French cut diamonds and lozenge cut, which are very rare stones in the way that they were cut. They do not cut them that way anymore. So auction value for these, you're looking at approximately $2,000 to $4,000. This pair of cufflinks, they are actually signed by Cartier. which is a very well-known maker.
Right.
They are 14 karat, which would be true to this time period. For an auction value for these, you're looking at approximately $1,000 to $2,000. And then these, probably the flashiest ones of them all, down at the bottom, they are platinum, 14 karat, again Art Deco time period, set with sapphires, mother of pearl, and diamonds. And auction value, you're looking at between $2,000 and $4,000 again.
That's wonderful. That's great news. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I brought in an antique clock. The time period is about 1800s. I found it about 25 years ago, and I've been carrying it around with me. I decided to bring it in, and it's worth $200 to $400.
I have a doll that I was in my mother's condo, and she has recently died, and I've been cleaning it out. My father died when I was 3, and my mother remarried at 65, so I got a stepfather at 45, and this had belonged to his wife. I know nothing about the history of it. It's just a pretty doll, has a very pretty face. I know that my mother made the clothes because I recognize her sewing. My stepfather had made furniture as a hobby, and this chair he made for the doll. She said anywhere from $100 to $300. The particular about this doll is that it has an open mouth and teeth that are shown. That's something that collectors look for. This is my 3rd time here, and it's always fun to bring something that you have no idea about.
I brought in a very old English till. It comes from England. I lived there in the 80s, and I picked this up at that time. In a store, the owner would write cash paid, cash received, cash out, and then open it. And because I traveled in Europe, I just kept dumping change in there. And it has a 10-pound note at the end. It pays for $200.
Hi, Margaret. How are you today?
Great.
Do you want to tell us what you brought for us today?
This is a picture that was painted by Andrew Wythe of Brenton Mill in Chadds Ford, Pennsylvania. And it was painted when he was 81 years old. And some of his latest paintings are considered to be the best. He has a dealer in Lookout Mountain, Tennessee, Frank Fowler. And he wrote Frank and said he thought this was one of the best watercolors he ever did. And Bob Timberlake bought it from Andrew Wythe. And 5 years ago, when Bob was getting rid of a whole lot of his things, a friend of mine had it hanging in his house, and he showed it to me. He knew I collected art, and he said, "You might be interested in this." And so I bought it at that time.
About 5 years ago?
About 5 years ago.
From Bob Timberlake?
Yes.
That's great. They had a nice relationship together. Bob Timberlake is a regional artist here in North Carolina. This is a landscape of his hometown, Chadds Ford, Pennsylvania.
He was there in the winter, but then he was up in Cushing, Maine in the summer.
Okay. And so he probably painted this during the winter in Pennsylvania?
He did, in Pennsylvania.
It was painted in 1996 of his hometown in Chadds Ford, Pennsylvania. We can see his signature right here. And we have a lot of provenance in the back. We have gallery tags, we have show tags. You also pulled up some research and you have appraisal paperwork. That's all great. It's going to help keep the piece with the most value. It's framed very lovely. It's simple. It's very nice. Do you have any idea how much you think it might be worth?
No, in fact, that's why I brought it.
He's a very strong artist. Something like this, I think you told me that you bought it for $150,000.
Bob Timberlake bought it from Andrew for $150,000.
Okay.
I bought it from Bob for $175,000.
You did good. You did good. Today, with this late painting and the study and the watercolor and his hometown and all your provenance along with it, something like this in the market will go for anywhere between $250,000 to $300,000.
Wow. Great.
I hope you're happy with that.
Well, I'm very happy. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Do you want to keep it?
I think so.
Okay, I think you should too.
Anyway.
It's very pretty. Keep it for a little bit longer.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course.
Oh My goodness, Amy, I cannot believe the value of that Wyeth painting. It's so beautiful. And I love that we have this amazing art collector that we get to meet in our studios, and she's such a wonderful member.
Margaret has traveled to London with me on one of our donor experiences, and we've had the good fortune to get to know her and spend time with her, and she really is extraordinary, and the stories that she tells, and we're so grateful that she would bring her art and get the verbal valuation from our friend Leland Little at Leland Little Auctions near Raleigh, North Carolina. It comes over for the day, but here's your opportunity to see what your treasures are worth. Give us a call or text us at 888-371-9884. The date this year is October 2nd. It is a Saturday between 9 and 5, and we will give you an hour time slot of what time to be here to get you in and get you out quickly and receive that verbal valuation from our friend Leland Little and all of his amazing team that gives us that great history. You've got two opportunities to talk about. You can bring 3 items at a $150 donation. Our way of saying thank you will give you those verbal valuations on those amazing items, or an opportunity to bring 2 items at the $125 donation. Again, this is an exciting day where, but I always get so excited to spend time with our members. And even last year was a different crazy year, and it was the first time many of our members said that they were out, that they left their homes and went somewhere. And we wore masks and we were safe and everybody stayed in their cars until, we just texted them and a few came in at a time, but we had such an amazing experience, and the joy on their faces really made us all get really excited as well.
Well, I think there's a lot of joy and excitement around Carolina Collectibles, and I think the Leland team does a fabulous job of explaining kind of how to look for antiques and what they would be looking for, what collectors are looking for. There's really great information that they're sharing. I also love the fact that you get this opportunity right here in Charlotte to make this happen. Here's an interesting tidbit, maybe you didn't know this, Amy. It's harder to get on Antiques Roadshow than it is to get into Harvard or Stanford University. So, this is one of those things where you have to wait for it to come to your town, and then you have to get in the lottery. It's really difficult. So I love that PBS Charlotte is making this Carolina Collectibles opportunity available, and how fun to see your friends and neighbors on the show. So we hope you'll join us on October 2nd. Make that call or go online or text to give right now.
Oh, Babette, that is such a good tidbit. I did not know that, but I know it's very difficult to get on Antiques Roadshow, and we hear everyone share their stories that they always wanted to be on it when they come in the studio. And throughout the program, we've heard people say they've come every year. And these are members who support us every single year and come back and look forward to bringing more treasures. And we look forward, we've developed friendships with our viewers, and that's such a special thing. And that's what makes public television, I think, one of the things that makes us so special, that it is that relationship. You're not just sitting at home hearing what we send into your home one way. It's a two-way street, and I love it when people move from being a passive viewer to an active investor.
Well, we have a wonderful opportunity to work with the Leland Antiques auction, and these people are so fantastic. And I think, Amy, we have a little bit more information about them and how this whole process works to share.
Hello, my name is Leland with Leland Little Auctions out of Hillsborough, North Carolina. We are looking forward to joining you this October for the Carolina Collectibles Series. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a great opportunity. We'll be here with a full team offering verbal valuations and appraisals for your treasures. One area that's very popular in today's market is modernism. Now, modernism, we kind of think of mid-20th century, and those examples that you can look for will be groups from furniture, works on paper and traditional art, mobiles, sculpture, to say a few. Look around. Let's see what we might have in your collection to bring here for Carolina Collectibles this coming October. We look forward to seeing you.
Oh, I look forward to seeing Leland again. And his team was amazing, Babette. Everybody, I didn't hear one negative word. They all learned so much. And isn't that part of public television? We are committed to lifelong learning.
We are. I have another tidbit for you, and we'll see if you know this one. The most highly valued item ever featured on Antiques Roadshow. Any idea?
Oh, I don't know.
I know, I put you on the spot. So it was a 1904 Diego Rivera oil painting valued at $1 million in 2012. And then they reappraised it, and one of our vintage Antiques Roadshows, they reappraised it in 2018 to $2 million, $2.2 million.
We thought that Andrew Wyeth painting that our friend Margaret Martin had was pretty extraordinary. And we've got coming up in the next segment, you're going to want to watch for the jade piece. The jade piece is pretty valuable as well. And again, you've got these things in your closet. They've been handed down. You know, the other thing I love, Babette, it's not always the things that are worth the most money. I mean, people brought antique dolls that were passed down from generation to generation to generation, and you know, fifth and sixth generations that they've passed this doll down, and it means the world to them, and they just learned the history of it. And to see their eyes light up and to see the joy that this information brings them, it really is fantastic.
Oh, Amy, I so agree that you're talking about the paper mache doll in our first segment. And there was so much tenderness there as she cradled that doll. And this is important to their family. There's a legacy involved in all of these items. And there's a legacy involved for PBS Charlotte as well. Almost 25 years of Antiques Roadshow. This January, 25th anniversary of Antiques Roadshow. And that's all possible because of people like you who were viewers and became members. Your dollars are so important to make sure that programs like Antiques Roadshow that you love on PBS Charlotte always have a home here. You're so powerful. Make that call.
Oh, Babette, you've hit on such an important point because really it takes a village, thousands of people making the average donation. Okay, it's my turn to test you with a quiz. What do you think the average donation to PBS Charlotte is?
Oh, let's see. What I wish it was or what it is. I'm going to say, all right. I'm going to say I wish people were giving us like $100 a year, but I think, you know, everyone gives what they can. So I'm going to say $25.
The average actually is $10 a month.
Wow.
When you think maybe $10 doesn't make a difference, when you add thousands of your friends giving $10 as a monthly donation, it makes a huge difference. We are going to head to the final segment, my friends. We're almost out of time right now, Babette. We want to give you one more opportunity. Give us a call, 888-371-9884, or you can text GIVE to that number to make your donation. $150 donation gets you the opportunity to bring 3 items on Saturday, October 2nd. $125 gets you the opportunity to bring 2 items. We're going to head to the final segment of our 4th annual Carolina Collectibles.
19th century weather vane. It's made out of zinc. It's part of a weather vane. He valued it about $1,000 to $1,300.
Today we brought in a porcelain dish. It's Mandarin rose, according to the gentleman who helped us. He said had it been made in the 18th century, it would be more collectible and more valuable. However, it came from the 20th century, which means that it's less valuable, and the value of this Mandarin rose decorative porcelain bowl is between $50 and $100.
This is a chinoiserie vanity. It is from my mother-in-law's estate. Of course, my husband was attached to it, and so we brought it all the way from Southwest Texas. We were told probably 19th century. It is the original mirror, and the escutcheons are bone, not ivory, but it was a kind of one-and-all piece. It has a place for sewing apparatus. It has a place for makeup, powders, all the things that a lady might have used then. The appraised value was between $1,000 and $2,000.
Hi, Susan and Patrick. How are y'all?
Very well, thanks. You?
What have we brought today?
I have a set of opals that were handed down from Patrick's grandmother, and they then went to his father, and then he passed them on to me once we got married.
Based on the history and just looking at the items, we are dating them, all 3 pieces, from around the same time, around the 1920s, 1920 to 1925. And what we are looking at here, this first piece, is an opal bead and crystal bead necklace. The crystal beads are in between each opal. What's nice about this piece is that it's long. Normally you see them a bit shorter. The size of the opals and the quality of the opals are very nice. The ring as well, the size and the quality. What you want to see in opals is the play of color, how nice, the greens and the blues play off of one another. And then the earrings as well, we have diamonds, green chalcedony, as well as opal drops at the bottom. Now, has anyone ever spoken to you about value or anything with these items?
We did try and get them valued for insurance purposes. It must have been about more than 20 years ago, and I don't recall what it was, but we were told that they're not fashionable, so there really wasn't, they weren't of any great value.
Okay, well, good news for you today is that they are back in fashion.
Oh, great.
Especially the size of the opals and the quality is what really sets this set apart from others, as well as the age. So for this necklace, you are looking at an auction value between $2,000 and $4,000.
Very nice.
For the ring and the earrings, both between $1,000 and $2,000.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Lovely.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
So it's a nice set you have here.
Yes.
Excellent.
Thank you.
I brought in this painting that I bought when I lived in England, and it is by, at that time, a young French artist named Jean-Maxime Relange. I lived in England 50 years ago, so I was curious to see what had happened to this young man and his art. This is a painting of a couple looking into the window of a glass shop. And I found out that Mr. Relange died in 2018. And this painting now is worth about $400 to $600.
I brought in 2 Disney cells, original from Sleeping Beauty. There's stickers on the back. I bought them on Main Street in Disneyland in 1959, the summer. I think I paid $1 each, so they're kind of special. They said between $500 and $1,500 each. I think they were cool pictures. I love Maleficent and the Crow, and obviously Briar Rose and Prince Philip dancing in the trees. So they were just kind of pretty.
Hey Ed, welcome in.
Thank you, Abby. It's good to be here.
Good. So I see you've brought some pretty jewelry for us today. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Yes, these pieces were from my wife, and she inherited it from her grandmother. She is Dutch. She is from Holland, commonly called there the Netherlands. And she asked that I take it by to get her to praise today. And thank you for your help.
Oh, well, we're happy to help. So first, just a little bit about the age of the piece. These are early Victorian pieces, gold with a silver topped. That's sort of the blackened part that you see there,
Right.
set with diamonds, rose cut diamonds. So first we have this ring. It has approximately 1.25 total carats of diamonds. We are looking at a value between $1,000 and $2,000.
Good. Wonderful.
Then we have this brooch that's approximately 4 to 4.5 total carats of diamonds, and an auction value would be between $5,000 and $7,000.
My goodness. How do you spell vacation?
Yeah. And then we have this necklace, which is approximately 5 total carats, and an auction value would be between $5,000 and $7,000.
Gracious.
And the big guy here, this bangle bracelet,
Yeah.
is approximately 8 total carats
My
of diamonds.
goodness.
And we are looking at a value of $10,000 to $15,000.
I'm blown away. Pick me off the floor. Thank you, Abby.
You're welcome.
That's good news.
Good.
Well, thank you both for coming in today. My name's Brian. Your name again?
I'm Bill Barnhart.
Hi, Bill.
Nice to meet you.
Harriet. Hi, Harriet. Thanks so much for coming in. So tell me a little bit about what you brought us. Where did you come by these?
You know.
Most of them we came from California.
Okay.
From a dealer that we worked with in California. And this one came from
Las Vegas.
Las Vegas.
Okay.
And the silver came, that came from Japan by way of my uncle.
Well, let's tell you a little bit about what you have. Basically, kind of going through, we have three very different examples of jade, in really from different periods. Starting with this one, from Las Vegas, it's actually it's pretty contemporary. This is actually kind of a 20th century jade carving. It's really well done. Obviously, a beautiful stand, but white jade, probably Russian or Hessian jade. A lot of times, is what you see these called, and so nice value, but not excessive value. Then we kind of move on to this piece here, which is really, it's a water coupe. I don't know if you guys know that or not, but it's typically scholars would use these basically to dip their brushes in as they were doing artistry and kind of do ink washes and that sort of thing. This is early 20th century, but what's exceptional about this one is the quality of the carving, and really it's what you call, again, kind of a watery jade, which is when you shine a light up through here, you get this translucence in the jade that actually is really desirable. And I would actually value this one in about the $10,000 to $15,000 range. This one, as it's your favorite, it should be. This is actually a Kangxi period. So Kangxi, this example is most likely late 17th century. It's a white jade with what these are really called kind of russet tones. What's amazing about this example is the detail of the carving. These are actually called archaic carvings, is typically what you see through this. Obviously with some of the pierce work on the lid, what's most exceptional is the level, the caliber of the carving. If you look at this foot, the consistency in that is exceptional for that period. But I think the most exciting thing about this ultimately is the provenance. So this actually came from a very notable collection. And what's great about it is we also have the stickers of the various dealers that have handled this piece in the past. And so a lot of times when you're collecting Asian antiquities, there's been a lot of interest and a resurgence in interest over the past 20 years. The market just exploded in the early 21st century, and some of these objects were just hitting illustrious values. And the thing that always created the most value is really people having the confidence in exactly what it is. What's the collection it came from? Who handled it previously? Because when you're paying those levels of investment, you really want to make sure that it's what you expect it to be. And this piece is absolutely right. So if I were to put an auction estimate on this of what you should expect it to bring, it's going to be in probably the $80,000 to $120,000 range. Wow. And I truly feel that that's a conservative estimate. I think this has the potential to really surpass that based on its history, its provenance. Obviously, it's well documented, and I think you guys you have a great eye, and you've got a great find. So, good. Yeah. So I really appreciate you bringing it in and showing it to us and sharing it. It's an exceptional example.
Thank you. Oh, how I love the Barnharts, and I'm so excited for them and that wonderful piece of jade, Babette. I mean, it's time to bring all the goodies that you have hanging around your house.
Well, you think about, they probably had this in their home, on a bookshelf or on a stand. Lovely pieces of jade, but really $80,000 to $120,000. I'm looking right now to see if I have anything to bring in.
And when you do, again, this is your final opportunity at this moment to support your only local PBS station, committed to educating, inspiring, and entertaining. We've done so much to help our community through economic mobility. Babette, we just graduated our 607th student from our 7-week career opportunity, career pathway, and leadership program. And that's just one of the many things we do behind the scenes that people don't see on television. But I hope you'll be inspired to be a part of all the good that we do for our community right now by giving us a call, making an investment, and securing your spot to come on October 2nd to PBS Charlotte and bring your collectibles to see what verbal valuations you'll receive from our friends at Leland Little Auctions. Again, the number is 888-371-9884. $150 donation gives you the opportunity to bring 3 items. A $125 donation, you'll be able to bring 2 items. Saturday, October 2nd, as we just have a limited number of spaces, we will assign people a time, a 1-hour time slot to come. You'll be in, you'll be out, you'll be on your way that Saturday afternoon, but I promise you, you'll have a good time and you'll learn a lot of history about your collectibles.
Well, I love what you said, Amy. We are almost out of time, and we also do this on a first come, first served basis. I mentioned this earlier, but I'll repeat it. It is harder to get on Antiques Roadshow than it is to get into Harvard or Stanford. It is incredibly difficult. It's like winning the lottery, and who knows when Antiques Roadshow will be back in Charlotte. But I love that PBS Charlotte makes Carolina collectibles available. And I think the Leland Little auction folks are just so good, Amy. There's so much history, but it's also like it's like, how did they learn all this? It's amazing. This is what collectors are looking for. This is how it was made. Oh, these are the markings and things underneath that you should look for in your own items. So much information, so much history. And I feel like we're learning so much about our wonderful members and where they've traveled and what's important to them. And we would love to do the same with you. So please make that call or a text or go online right now. We don't want to miss you on October 2nd.
Oh, Babette, the world is so big, and yet opportunities like this allow us to feel so connected and make the world a little smaller and bring a little more joy and feel a part of our community. You often think, what can you do to make a positive impact? Well, you know what? That $125 or $150 donation does make a positive impact. And our way of saying thank you is just inviting you to be a part of that special day. The stories that we hear from people that they come back year after year. And this October 2nd will be our 5th annual. We'll be recording it. We'll turn it into another television program that we'll show you next year. And you get to be a part of a television production. You get to learn a lot about history, have a wonderful time with your friends and your neighbors, and of course your friends here at PBS Charlotte. The number again, 888-371-9884. You can text GIVE to that number and make your donation and your commitment that way, or you can go online to pbscharlotte.org, click the donate button. It's all safe and secure, but most importantly, please don't sit back and let your friends and neighbors have all the fun and you miss out.
Oh, that's a great point. It's going to be a great community gathering. And you know, Amy, I'm so impressed that year after year, Leland Little Auctions is so willing to share their time and their talents with us as a part of their support of PBS Charlotte. We have a little bit about their excitement and what this is going to be like for you when you make that call or click of support.
Hello, my name is Leland with Leland Little Auctions. We are delighted and looking forward to joining you for our second time this October for Carolina Collectibles. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an opportunity once again to support our local station, but in addition, we'll be arriving with a full team to help you with your valuations and appraisals for your treasures at your home. 2 areas I'd like you to focus and think about. 1, collector cars. For over 100 years, Americans have been fascinated with their vehicles, trucks, muscle cars, luxury cars. Let's take a look at those and see what type of valuations we might have. Secondly, for hundreds of years, the whole world has been thrilled with fine art. 18th, 19th century, 20th century oil on canvas paintings of all types right here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a great opportunity to see what you might have in your fine art collection. On behalf of the entire team, we look forward to seeing you this October. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Leland. You know, he talked about antique cars, Babette. How exciting to bring your antique car and see what it's worth. My husband has this secret dream. He's got a goal. He's a businessman, works for himself, and he wants to reach a certain amount of money, and then he's going to buy himself a 1967 Mustang convertible. So that's his dream, that's his goal, and isn't life about having dreams and goals?
I love that. Well, I have a dream right now, Amy, and that is that everybody who loves Antiques Roadshow would go to the phone or text or go online and support us for Carolina Collectibles. This is not something that is done all over the country at every PBS station. Oh no, this is something really unique that PBS Charlotte does because you're so interested in antiques and Antiques Roadshow. So this is a great way to join your friends and neighbors in supporting the station, bringing your valuables and doing something so valuable for us because your dollars really are treasured. Your membership is treasured by each of us. Your dollars help us fill the program schedule with the programs that you love. You have so much impact and so much power. So if I were going to put a value on your membership, I'd have to say priceless.
Oh, Babette, that's wonderful. And that's so true, because so many times you hear people say, oh, they belittle themselves, and they'll say, what can $125 do for an organization? It makes a huge difference. It's how we've grown from just a couple thousand donors to over 10,000 donors, and we need to have 25,000 donors. I mentioned to you earlier, Babette, the average donation is $10 a month. So at $120 a year, it takes a lot, thousands and thousands of donors, because the number one source of revenue we have here at PBS Charlotte is individual viewers like you.
25 years, almost 25 years of Antiques Roadshow has been on PBS Charlotte. And how many years have you been watching? Do you even remember the first host, Chris Jessel? Now we are all over. We've done, we're going to do a celebrity at home version with Jay Leno, speaking of antique cars, Amy, and we've gone above and beyond to try and make Antiques Roadshow really important during our pandemic when people couldn't be out and about. But I can tell you, the executive producer Marsha Bemko, is so excited to get back on the road, and just about as excited as we're all excited to get together on October 2nd. So don't forget, time is almost up. If you've been thinking about it, $150 membership to value 3 of your items, or $125 for 2 items. It does make a difference. It is going to be a special day, but it won't be as special if you're not there.
Feeling that sense of community, camaraderie, the joy, and I would watch people cheer on strangers that they had just met 5 or 10 minutes earlier. Like, they would see something special that someone had, they would tell them their story, and then they would be done with their verbal valuation, but they wouldn't leave because their new friend, Tom or Sally or Juan, you know, they wanted to find out what their collectible was worth. And so it is this sense of community. And I think any time in the world with as many challenges as our world has, that we can bring people together, it really is special. And part of public television's uniqueness is the fact that we bring people together. We are conveners. And I'm just so honored to be able to convene with my friend, Babette Davidson, who does so much for us here with programming at PBS Charlotte. But we want to hear from you. The number is 888-371-9884. You can get a $150 donation, get 3 items valuated on that October 2nd, or a $125 donation, and you will have 2 items and receive verbal valuations from our friends at Leland Little Auctions. We want to hear from you. It is time. We have just a few seconds. Thank you so much for sharing and empowering our community together.
A production of PBS Charlotte.